Buildings are crazy that they've got these parapet walls and they get wet on both sides, and the water goes into the building right down into the living spaces. We've created a passive ventilation system that allows the building to dry out as well as shed water. Parapet walls need to be covered up and vented because masonry does not shed water, it absorbs water. This has always been the case. But why is it showing up more in modern construction than ever before? The problem is that there's a difference in the way the materials have been used and the way the buildings have been insulated. For example, on an old building that's built with lime mortar, the water gets absorbed by the lime. The free lime that's in the mortar, it will dissolve and fill in all the cracks around it. You can have an old building that's got cracks in it, and then after it rains, the cracks will disappear. New mortar is harder is because Portland cement is epoxy additive to make lime mortar hard. If you repoint an old building with contemporary mortars, you inadvertently reverse the drying process because water gets absorbed by the soft clay brick. Soft clay brick gets dried out because lime mortar acts as a poultice and sucks the water out of it and evacuates it to the atmosphere. When you put on the harder substrate, it'll allow water in, but it doesn't necessarily allow water out, and it doesn't have the ability to suck the water from the brick because it's so hard. It doesn't have the ability to absorb the moisture. So a really interesting part of this conversation should be understanding the definition of adsorbing and absorbing. It's AD versus AB. When you absorb something, it's like a loaf of bread sucking up water. It kind of disintegrates a little bit and turns to mush. But adsorbing means that it's a hard object. Water is surrounding it, it's wetting it. And so that wetting process is what helps to facilitate water going through it. But you won't have the ability to pull the water out of a clay brick. So consequently, what happens on these old buildings with newer mortars is that they go through a freeze-thaw cycle, and the water that's retained in the clay brick will freeze and then pop the face off of it and will disintegrate. But the mortar joints will stay completely intact. Like the Roscoe job where water is flowing down those columns of brick. So that's showing the presence of water at every level. So when you get a freeze-thaw cycle, water is the only thing that can do this. Water expands when it freezes. It pushes whatever's in front of it out.